Right, up and running, great. Okay, I won't give you the boring part about me. I'll move straight on to the goals of the presentation. I want to demonstrate a few tools for fulfilling the request. I want to start a conversation where we all can share ideas and tools. I want to teach and learn ways to save time. I want to appreciate Felis Catus and its role in libraries. Well, not really a goal, but shouldn't we all do that anyway? And just a side note, when I was looking at my slides, preparing them, I said, these are really boring. I need to jazz them up. And one of our science librarians, Emily, said, just add cats. Everybody loves cats. So there we go. Why isn't she working? I don't know either. Okay. Thank you so much, Katie.
Well, I may have messed up whatever it was doing.
Okay. All right. This is not a session about copyright, but I do want to go over things very, very quickly. I have 2 links on this slide that I also put in the chat on Whova for the session, so you can easily access them. What about copyright and fair use? Look into it more later. I have a link there, but basically we have a lot more leeway in copyright and fair use than we think we do. Because we're so kind and honest, we tend to worry about copyright when really the law uses much, much more freedom. I'm going to actually suggest Kyle Courtney's Copyright First Responders course for anybody that wants to learn more. I took it at NWILL a couple years ago. Fabulous. Refer to him. He's the expert. I also want to talk about, because a lot of what I pull up and I'm going to be showing you is places like ResearchGate. Questions about copyright there. I actually Googled, the link is there. I'm not going to go through the details. You guys can read it on your own, but the most important takeaway in this is that the onus is on the person that uploads the content. Worry about copyrights does not fall on us. We are just downloading. We don't have to worry. If we can find it, we can use it. Do not have to worry about copyright at all. So just get that weight off of your head. It's kind of like jumping in the pool on a hot day to not have to worry about that anymore. Next slide, please. Okay, a few useful tools. Google Books is really, really helpful, especially for old books and foreign language books and books that are out of copyright. But I discovered a trick to Google Books. If you look at the examples on the left, if it shows as preview, it's not full text. If it shows as read, it is full text. That means that you don't have to sit there and click the link and try to figure it out and then be like, oh, it's not there and go back. If it says preview, just skip it and you're done. And yes, you're saving a second or so. But we all know that those seconds add up. And we all know that that second can be the difference between finishing a request before you get interrupted by a patron or a student. So these are all good things. Please. Okay, a couple more useful tools. In our library, we use Iliad and Rapido. So I'm speaking to those people that work with other systems. If you have similar things, please put them in chat. One of the things I use all the time is that you can get a combined Google tab for your borrowing books and lending books in Iliad. So if you're looking at a title and it's missing citation information, you can get it more easily. Also, there's a Google Scholar widget that you can get in Chrome. And again, it just simplifies the process. Please. Okay, a couple more helpful things. Control F is your friend. I don't need to say this. I won't actually read through that slide. But it is very, very useful, especially when you have the 228-page documents and you're looking for a single sentence, which we've all had to do. Also, Google Translate is your friend, but honestly, in the last presentation, Lapis covered this topic more thoroughly and more completely than I was going to. So I'm going to say refer to his information because it was fabulous. The only thing I'll add is that when you're using a Google Translate, Sometimes if they put down the English version of the Chinese request in their ILL request, and you get your Chinese periodical and you're looking for the English title in your actual database, the titles may not match exactly. The wording is going to be off because translation is not a perfect sport. So look for the keywords, look for the concept, and even if it's not an exact match, it's going to be the right article, which you can also confirm with author and all that other information. It's especially true with the non-alphabet languages in my personal experience. All right, using Google Scholar to complete citations. Maybe you guys all have patrons that are better than mine, but guessing that you don't. So this is something that you can do directly from that Google tab in Iliad or the Google Scholar widget, or just by going to scholar.google.com. Whatever way works for you is what you should do. So basically, you just toss in the article title. Sometimes you got to do parentheses. We know how this works. And it's going to pop up that what you see in the bottom left is what you're going to see. If you click where it says cite, please, next slide. You're going to get this wonderful list that not only has the citation information, but it gives to you in several of the common formats. So you can just plug in the missing information and suddenly your citation is complete, and suddenly you can send the request through Rapid or whatever else it may be. Very, very useful right there. Please. Okay. Just to preface this, every single example that I am giving you in this presentation are requests that I have done between October of last year and about last month when I started putting together this slideshow. These are real examples. It's not all of them, but it's a sampling. I also want to stress that what I am giving you is not 100%. Nothing is 100% in this game. You are going to not be able to find things. What this does is increase your toolbox and give you a better chance. It's also very helpful for public libraries and special libraries that may not have access to the larger global resource sharing network. They may not have the pods, they may not have the connections. This is very useful for that because it requires none of that to work. Thanks. So you search your title in Google Scholar. It has a little thing on the right to download the PDF. You go to that site, you download it, you save it, and you send it. And it's just that easy. Well, it's not always that easy. Please go to the next slide. So we don't have to worry about copyright, but we do want to be aware that there are copies, and I'm using copies as the word for PDF files that we download of whatever kind, just to clarify terminology, get us on the same track. You have to be aware that some are kind of sketchy and some are okay. So we do have to evaluate them individually, the copy itself. So you want the citation information on that page. You want journal information on that page. I have examples to the right. If you see that kind of thing, you're fine. And we've all seen a gajillion articles, so we know what we're looking for. Next slide, please. Things are going to go wrong. Sometimes there just isn't a PDF to download. It's not open access. It's not there. Sometimes you click through and it's behind a paywall, which happens in our library databases as well. So, hey, what can you do? And sometimes it's not a trustworthy copy. It can be a Word doc instead of a PDF file. If it doesn't have the citation or the journal information, if it doesn't have page numbers, and anything including the words draft or uncorrected. Please go to the next slide. For example, the highlighted part that you're not going to be able to see very well says accepted manuscript. What this means, and it's the same if it's a Word doc, and it's the same if it doesn't have page numbers, it means it's a draft. It means that they put the draft online for whatever reason. We shouldn't use those. We should use the final accepted peer-reviewed copy. And people, most dissertations you're gonna find okay in PDF form. If you find a PDF in a doc form, I would hesitate before using it because it may not be the final accepted by the university edition of the dissertation. So be aware of that. Please move on. So there are gray areas, things to think about. This is an example that I pulled up in July. Now, normally, if you see pre-proof, you don't want to use it because pre-proof is not the official copy, version, peer-reviewed, finalized. But I did in this case, and there's 3 reasons why. First of all, I actually got this directly from our databases. And it's my opinion that if we find it in our databases, it's official enough. Because if the publisher put it there, that means that that's a copy that we can send to people and use. Secondly, it was 17 days old when I downloaded it. So I really, truly, a lot of publishers, especially in the sciences, humanities people tell me if it's true for you too in the chat. But in the sciences, we get a lot of, we're going to put the preprints, the pre-proofs online and let everybody read it. And then sometime later, eventually, we're going to give you the final version. All the citation information in great and significant detail was on that page. And more importantly, there is an example of what pre-proof means. So people knew exactly what they were getting and what it meant, and that was from the publisher. So because of those factors, I actually chose to send this file to the patron that requested it. Go ahead. Okay, what about articles that are HTML? So this is going to happen, first of all, when you just put it into Google or Google Scholar, a lot of things are HTML. And for no reason, last month, I've come across, I think, 6 articles from our library databases that were only in HTML form. An example here is we actually at WSU subscribe to the Chronicle of Higher Education, but it just comes up in the generic Chronicle website. It's not a downloadable PDF. Highlight, you don't have to get rid of it because it isn't a PDF. You can make it a PDF and you can use it. Just highlight the part that you want, which as much as possible is going to be the stuff without the ads on the side. Hit Control P, go up, save it as a PDF, and then do what you normally do. Please go to the next slide. You can also save only parts of PDFs. Now, as I said, I work in the science library. So oftentimes they want one article of a science journal from the 1920s. So you do your search and you can find the science journal from the 1920s. But what they've done is they've just scanned the entire volume or issue or whatever it may be, put it all online in one block, and they haven't actually indexed or separated out the different articles and chapters. So you can get the whole thing, but you really only need a section of it. It's easy. It's no problem at all. So they requested one abstract from a 228-page download, found the abstract, took note of the numbers on the file itself, not the file of the article. Very important, obviously, because it's not going to match up ever. And please, next slide. So you go to Control Print, you go to Save as PDF, you go down to Custom Range. You put in the pages that you need. Then you save it and you go on your merry day, having provided a really obscure, difficult to find thing for your patron in about 30 seconds flat. Please go on. You can also use this method for non-consecutive pages. I'm sure we've all come across that. This particular request, the person wanted 4 different non-consecutive pages in chapter 3. It was the same thing. I downloaded the chapter and then I Control P'd, went to save PDF, and then for my custom ranges, I just did the individual numbers I need separated by commas, and it gave me a lovely PDF of just those 4 pages all together, nice and neat for the patron. Sent it off. Life was good. It took me not very much time. Go ahead. Okay, let's talk about dissertations. Just for your interest, I actually compiled a list of every university where I found free dissertations in the last, I don't know, what is that, 8, 9 months, some time period. There's also a really great website, oatd.org, that's open access dissertations. But can I be completely honest? I just Google it. And the reason I say just Google it is because A dissertation could be on the Interlibrary website, but not OATD, or ProQuest and the university, but not in the other place you're looking. There's so many places things can be. If you Google it, it's going to search them all. Do a blanket search so that checks all of your options rather than sit there and go to 10 different websites to look it up specifically. Just Google it. Go ahead. I have to share this story because it was crazy. I found a dissertation on Facebook once. So it came in, the title you see right there at the top. I couldn't find it. We had no sources for it. But I put it in Google and I found that link on Facebook. And I thought that was really weird, but I clicked on it because, we're curious, why not? And I found, next screen, please. I found this lovely paragraph you don't have to read, but it was all about how this website Facebook page was dedicated to a collection of important musical dissertations for the education of all. So I Control F'd that puppy. Next page, please. And sure enough, guys, I found that. And you will look at the very bottom of that picture in the middle, you're going to see that PDF link. I clicked on that PDF link, and it was the full dissertation with the signatures and the page numbers and everything. I was able to save that, and I was able to send it to my patron through Facebook. And it was a little baffling, but I'm not going to argue, right? When I find what I need, I don't really care where I get it from. Interestingly, I tried this a couple weeks ago, and it's now actually open access on the ASU website. So you don't need Facebook anymore, but it was still an adventure. Please go on. All right. I don't even know how I'm doing on time. Cool. So the takeaways. If you can't find it, always Google. And I would actually clarify that. If you're looking for a peer-reviewed article, Google Scholar it. If you don't find it in Google Scholar, try Google. If you're looking for a dissertation, Google works best first, in my experience. Secondly, judge the copy itself. Do not judge the source the copy came from. That was a perfectly beautiful PDF of that dissertation. It did not matter that it came from Facebook because that was a good copy. People put the strangest things in the strangest places on the internet. We can use all of it. And we should take advantage of every single tool that we have at our disposal. And finally, cats are awesome. Yes. So as a last summary and reminder, remember, there are always going to be things that we just can't find. But the more tools like this we have, the more little tricks we know, the more things we can try, the more likely we are going to be able to find exactly what that patron needs. And frankly, a lot of times this process is a lot faster. And I didn't mention it earlier, but also if you can find it open access, that means that you don't have to pay reprints. And God bless reprints. I'm glad they exist, or it exists. But I'm all about saving the library money by finding it through Google Scholar instead first. All right. Okay, for the trivia contest on Whova that I hope that you're all participating in to win wonderful prizes, the question for this session is, what year was Google Scholar founded? And it was 2004. And yes, I did have to look that up. I did not just magically know. Okay, next screen, please. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation. I'm about to go to Q&A. If you'd like to contact me, my information is up on that screen as well as on Whova. Thank you all for being such a great audience. I just want to go to the next screen because it has the QR code to enter into the post-session raffle. So go ahead and scan that, enter in the raffle. And now I'll take any questions if there are any, which I'm sure there are.
You were talking about finding the article, downloading it, and sending it on.
Yes.
I used to do that, And now I find it a shortcut. I verify the article and I copy the link and I send the patron the link. Then I don't have to worry about it sitting in my hard drive or whatever. And every 30 days, I got to clear that stuff out. And I've had probably fewer problems doing that
Yeah.
than the old way.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's not how our library works. We save all of our PDF files for resource sharing to one folder, and we always send it as a PDF. We never just email links. So it wouldn't work for us, but it's really a great idea. And if your library works that way, I'd highly suggest that way. Yeah.
When you were talking about the older science things, do you have any tricks? I know a lot of what we run into is they also want like the pictures and diagrams and stuff that went with that. Do you have any tricks to succeed on that front?
You know, this is where it actually can be a little bit of a challenge. If we are just scanning some of our bound journals, that's easy peasy. When it comes to the online stuff, there's just not much we can do. Sometimes I'm able to download and add the supplementary material. Mostly, we just can't. We just have to hope that it's a decent enough copy and that they have all the information that they need. Yeah, there's problems with science. I learned this just in the last year. Old science citations don't necessarily put the title of the article. They just give you everything else and assume you'll know. So if you have missing information, it's even harder because you don't have a title. And all you can do in that case is just start looking at your author last name, start looking in those indexes. It can get a little hairy. Yeah.
All right, we'll move to some online questions then. All right, this was already answered by Libby, but for the people in the room, if something is found via Google Scholar, should we be paying copyright?
Nope. Do not have to worry about it for reasons in the ResearchGate link above.
Aside from the ILL listserv, are there any other known ILL listserv groups for searching for materials? And there's about 11 replies from people, but did you have one?
Yeah, and actually, I don't do that part, so you all need to give that information instead. I'm like the cog in the ILL wheel. I do the first level processing. I do a little bit of the tricky bits, but the things like this go up to our ILL director. So I don't know. You tell me. Please, absolutely, if you have ideas, put that in that answer queue and or in the comments.
So there's quite a few replies. So
Great.
can yeah, so there are like, wow, there's one AL Doc L discussions for AL, like there's just so many.
Yeah.
So I won't
Definitely a
there's
good resource.
Yeah, so go and look at the Whova if you're interested in more resources. So another question, are there best practices when utilizing Scholar, Google Scholar, or GS Scholar related to fair use, DRM, and open access?
We don't have to worry about it. If we can download it, we can use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was a person that posted, I wanted to share another dissertation resource for Ohio colleagues, and they posted a link. So again, go ahead and look at that if you use Ohio or in Ohio. Do you think it's okay to use HathiTrust for older article requests when your library owns the print version in remote sharing location?
Yes. Absolutely. It's okay even if you don't own the print version in remote sharing locations. Now, I will say, and maybe somebody smarter than me can give me advice, the problem I have sometimes found with HathiTrust, sometimes, and with other things that are similar to that, is that It doesn't let you download the PDF. And when you go to, like, if you want to just print your screen, it won't print the entire thing. It'll just print exactly the words that are on that little screen at the moment. So I'll take any suggestions on that.
There's actually a way to download the whole thing, but it's a little tricky to get to. During your break, I can show you.
I would love that. Yes.
We'll put
It
that
doesn't,
in the
yeah.
chat.
How do you trust doesn't come up that often in my job, but sometimes it does, and it's just frustrating.
Okay, and then I had someone ask sometime or say there's sometimes titles with the quotation, not
Yes.
quotation, the carrots. If parentheses, that's the right word. Are in foreign language. Have you used these in searching, or is it a myth?
The parentheses for the foreign language. For foreign language, and this is going to be one of those no one right way works all the time. I start my foreign language title searches without the parentheses. And if I get no hits, I try the parentheses. And if I get no hits in Google Scholar, I then try it in regular Google. And then if it's just too confusing and I don't have a solid hit there, I honestly check WorldCat. WorldCat is a really great way just to see if it even actually exists. I use WorldCat a lot for that as well.
Someone replied that PubMed uses this. So
yeah, PubMed is an excellent source.
All right. Someone asked about using ResearchGate. We are often pretty source agnostic as well, but we never source from there.
I source from there multiple times a day. I use it all the time.
All right. Was there any more questions in person before I answer the rest of these online?
And I just want to emphasize with that ResearchGate, remember, there are an infinite number of different agreements that authors and publishers are going to have with themselves, with online. We don't have to track that. If we can download it, we can use it. We can just, it's the onus for copyright is on the person who uploads, not the person who downloads. We're free and clear. I see 2 questions in the audience. Are there any more online? Okay. Okay. Guys, if I don't get to it in this conference length, I promise I'll go through Whova and I will answer them all. So, yeah.
Beyond copyright, do you ever run into challenges from the patrons, like trying to find citation trails or like trying to justify where these resources came from?
Yeah, sometimes our citations are so incomplete that we just can't find it. And what we usually do in that case is just email the patron and say, hi, we need help. Can you give us more information? There was one example in particular, and it was actually our science librarian who was trying to find it. And he had a citation, and we were able to find the citation in a very couple of really obscure places. We could not find this article it was something science. We couldn't find it. It was like it didn't exist. So that comes up as well. And sometimes you just have to say, sorry, it's not actually there. Oh, well, partly because they don't know, because they're just going to get a PDF, but partly because they don't care, because they're getting exactly what they need. Yeah. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Anyone else in person at the moment? Okay. Got some more. What is your support for if we can download it, we can share it? I would love to know.
What is my support for it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, basically, it's not our responsibility. First of all, okay. The information for this answer has kind of been referred to, and it also is in those 2 links that I put at the very beginning of the chat. But first of all, copyright and fair use, we're using it for education. We're not making any money. That alone means that we can use basically anything we want. Rule of 5, read the white paper on Contu. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but if you read that, and there's a lot of other resources, it doesn't really exist. Copyright copyright suggestions were written in the 70s, have nothing to do with how we do things nowadays, are completely outdated, and they haven't been updated. So that's part of it. Secondly, is the information, and I got that link from ResearchGate, but you see it all over. We, the downloader, are not the ones responsible. If somebody puts it on the internet and you can find it, they are the ones responsible for knowing whether it has copyright, whether they're legally. There's too many options and too many variables. As librarians, we are not going to have the knowledge of 50 different minute different agreements between a publisher and a periodical or the author. And I know that we've all seen, even in open access, some are available. You can have a volume in an issue and see all of the articles, and some are available and some are not. There's too many rules. We don't have to know them. If we can download it, we can use it.
Okay, someone was asking about the oatd.org. Are these citations or full dissertations?
I'll be honest, I found it and I glanced at it, but I haven't looked at it that much. So play. Go ahead and check. Let us know. Because I don't use it. I just put it in Google. I'm a firm believer in start really big, and then you don't have to do 10 different separate searches.
Any more in-person questions? With the rise in requests for articles created by AI-generated citation lists, i.e. things that don't exist, on average, how much time do you dedicate to trying to find out if a PDF that's harder to find?
Okay, yeah, and this is actually, I've had several, this article doesn't actually exist like you think it does, problem request. My personal philosophy, and so just to put this into context, when I am looking at this request, I don't have contact with the patron. They're not telling me. I'm just seeing it in Iliad or seeing it in Rapido. It's just a list. So I put it, if I can't find a lender or anything along those lines, I put it in Google Scholar first. If that doesn't work, I check Google. If that doesn't work, I put in my quotation marks and I add the author's last name. If that doesn't work, I shorten the title and put in the author's last name, all the various tricks that we do. And if all that doesn't work, I check WorldCat. Same truncation, shorten, quotation mark, author title with WorldCat. If none of that works, either it's so obscure we're never going to get it, or it's not real. And in that case, I get the lovely, lovely privilege of being able to put that up the line to our ILL supervisor, whose name is Tess, and she's fabulous. But if I do think that something is AI created, I'd leave her a note saying, I don't think this actually exists, but I'm giving it to you to try to figure out.
Okay, that's all our online questions. So thank you everyone for attending this session. Please complete the post-session survey in Whova, which you can access from the QR code and the link in the session chat. The NWILL Planning Committee and our presenters appreciate your feedback.
Yes.
If you want to continue the conversation, you can use the chat in the session, the Whova community section, or meet with them at another time. And again, there's quite a bit of information that I didn't talk about. So if you want to look at those questions, there's a bunch of resources in there, and the resources that Libby posted. So thank you again, everybody.
Have a great